Many years ago, I took the family to a place called Rock City. Rock City had actually been dug out, these caves had been dug out underground, and there were these beautiful stalagmites and stalactites, and I sat there and marveled at how people worked into these little areas by hand and with some other tools to be able to carve these beautiful rock formations out, and I marveled at how tight the spaces were. But what was even worse was at one point our tour guide said, "Now in a few moments I need to warn you all to stay right in your place and not move. We're going to shut the lights off because we want you to see what they couldn't see, and see exactly what they couldn't see when they had no lights or their lights went out when they were digging these caves." So they counted to 3. The next thing you know, the lights came off. And when I tell you that I could not see my hand in front of my face, I literally put it up like this close and I couldn't see it. I could feel it, but I couldn't see it. And I thought, I can't imagine being this far underground and not being able to see. They told us not to move because if anybody moved, they could have fallen, they could have created panic, and they would have had a full-blown crisis on their hands. That's what happens in a crisis, isn't it? You can't see. People get into a crisis and they can't see clearly what to do next. They feel like darkness has enveloped them, is in front of them. They feel like there is this dense fog that is in front of their faces, so much so that they can't see even what to do next. It's tough to see clearly in a crisis, and yet it is the most important skill that you and I can develop, especially now. We've been in a crisis in the world and in our country specifically. This coming Sunday, August 23rd, 2020, we will be at day 163 since COVID-19 was declared a national emergency in the United States. 163 days. For some of you, it seems like a lot longer, doesn't it? We've been wearing masks. We've been practicing social distancing. At one point, the entire economy was shut down. It's been a crisis. And there's a lot of armchair quarterbacks that are criticizing governors from around the states, and our particular state in Florida. They're criticizing the president and the administration. And it's even been made a political football because now the other side wants to use how they would have handled coronavirus. And the fact of the matter is that there's no playbook for how to handle a pandemic like this. It only comes along in 100 years. But being able to see clearly when a crisis comes, whatever the crisis is a skill that one can develop and one can learn. In fact, it's a skill that we see taught in the scriptures. It's a skill that we see taught through the power of a story, the power of a biography, the power of someone who used that skill. And that's what we're going to talk about this Sunday at Community Bible Church here in Dania Beach. We're going to talk about seeing clearly in a crisis. And we're going to look at the story of a gentleman who basically was ready to lose his life. People had been sent to him to take him and his friends out. And he was able to come back around and say, wait a minute, take me to the king. I know what's going on here. I'll help him see clearly. And you know what? It changed the trajectory of that kingdom. It changed the trajectory of his life, elevated him to a place of leadership, saved his life, and helped him to influence his people and influence other nations. That's a tall order, but it's possible. And we're going to learn some lessons from this gentleman's life this coming Sunday on how we can see clearly in a crisis. So I don't know what your crisis is right now. It could be just COVID-19, but it could be the impact of COVID-19. It could have impacted your job, your business. It could have impacted your relationship. It could impact what you're doing with your children. You could be a parent at home right now trying to homeschool your kids and work and all of that. But whatever the crisis, being able to see clearly so that you know where to move next is the most important and vital skill. And we're going to talk about how to do it this Sunday at Community Bible Church right here in Dania Beach. We are located at 1 mile west of I-95, 1 mile east of 441 at the corner of Griffin Road and Southwest 30th Avenue. Now, we have 2 services going on right now at 9:45 and 11 a.m. They are at less than 50% capacity. So that means that we could turn people away if there is a challenge. So we will not allow it to be filled more than the law will certainly allow us. Also, we are requiring face mask or face coverings. So if you come to Community Bible Church, you can come at 9:45 or 11. I will tell you right now, the 9:45 service, you won't get turned away because it is not as full as 11 o'clock. So if you're looking to come, show up at 9:45 or 9:45 or 11, but 9:45 is open. And make sure you have a facial covering. You will not be allowed to stay if you do not have a facial covering. We also will be sanitizing your hands when you come in and directing you to your seat. It's the way to keep everybody safe right now. If you don't want to do any of that, you say, man, that's a whole lot of trouble, Bob. You can watch us online at 11 a.m. Now, if you don't know how to get the links are put up on Facebook. They're also texted out and emailed out. If you're not on our email list, then send us an email and say, I want to be put on your list, to info@cbcfl.org, and we will put you on our mailing list, our email list, so that you get all of the information. If you'd like to be included on the text message alerts, just include your cell phone number in there, and that will give us permission to do that. So we'd love for you to join us one way or another. Trust me, we're going to continue to handle crises throughout our time here on this planet, and being able to see clearly will allow us to navigate through it. So this coming Sunday, Seeing Clearly in a Crisis, we'll see you August 23rd. God bless you. Have a great weekend.